Hi, hello, vanakkam, namaskar, and welcome to yet another episode of my podcast, The People I Meet. This is Shruti Vijay Kumar Vasant, radio jockey from Chennai. Today on my podcast, the guest that I have is somebody who is so multifaceted. It actually took me a while to sort of write down or note down the kind of things that she does, because on one day you see her being this fantastic model, whether it's print, whether it's ramp. On another day you see her doing makeup on clients and getting them ready for their big events. And another day you see her performing her heart out as a fantastic singer and doing all of these amazing things. And on the other hand, she also teaches. So if you must be wondering who is this multifaceted, amazingly talented human being that I'm talking about, it's none other than Aishwarya. Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for joining me on my podcast today. You truly have been an inspiration to me in so many different ways. And I think I look up to you when I sort of think about, if I think in my day I have only 24 hours and I'm like, oh wow, there are so many people who are doing all of these amazing things. You are definitely one of those people that immediately pop to mind. So thank you so much for being on my podcast today and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. That's such a nice and sweet intro. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right. So like I told you in the beginning, my podcast sort of deals with the person rather than the personality. And I know that in every interview, you get asked a cliche set of questions. So how did your journey begin? How did you do this? How did you do that? Of course, I am going to be asking you some of those questions. But when I'm asking you those questions, the answers that I sort of want to, reflect upon are what was going on in Aishwarya's mind when she was taking that decision, rather than why did you do it? It's sort of because I know you're somebody who's very vocal about dealing with issues from a very strong personal front. So that's the reason I wanted to do this. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I know you're somebody who loves to juggle several different roles at once. You've been in the print for a really, really long time in the modeling industry, over 700 assignments and with almost 15 years of experience. I know a little bit of how that happened as an accident because you've shared that with me in an earlier interview. But can we just go back to the beginning and just talk about what was going on in your mind when you sort of decided to enter this glamorous world?
Actually, it's very odd for me to have even stumbled upon this particular industry per se, mainly because I was a very awkward and shy child. Okay. So I started modeling when I was still in school. And I remember when I was in school, I didn't have much friends and I used to be bullied, and it was just like not a very good experience. And I spent my 14 years in the same school and I came out without any friends. So you can imagine you spend your whole life in a place and you haven't been able to crack your way.
Most formative years as well, right? It's
exactly.
They say that you should really have. I know that in textbook, a lot of people say your childhood is supposed to be the most happiest or, the one with lesser stress and worries. But sometimes it just becomes the entire opposite. And I'm just amazed at how you are holding up and, the transformation that you've had. But yes, please continue.
So when I was in school, I remember I used to feel like this. Actually, everybody goes through that puberty age where you just don't look your best, right?
Right.
So I did not look my best, honestly. And I used to be very well aware of that. And I used to be made aware of that, unfortunately. I never thought of myself as somebody who could be paid for the way I look. It's just not a thought that ever crossed my mind. So this modeling thing was a complete accident. But I think the one thing that has kept me going my entire life, and the reason I'm able to do everything that I do and the reason I do everything I do is because I rise up to challenges. I don't go seeking challenges. There are some people who are very competitive and they like to, they crave challenges.
Right.
I don't crave challenges. But if you give me a challenge, because I'm a perfectionist, because of so many reasons about the way I am, I have to excel in whatever you throw me into. So you can throw me into a Muay Thai ring tomorrow and I'll figure out how to win that, competition. So that's just how I am.
Right.
So because of that quality, and because I got this opportunity, I took it, whether I felt I was ready or not, whether I felt I deserved it or not. But I gave it whatever I knew to give at that stage of my life, which was not much because I was just 14 years old. So I was very young. So I did not know exactly what went into modeling or anything,
Right.
but I did have a little bit of exposure watching other people because of my mom's job.
Right.
And she'd been around models and taking, she was a journalist. So,
Right.
I've seen that. So I used whatever that is seen and then I put it into it. And for some reason it clicked immediately. And it was, I guess, I also believe in the saying, it says, destiny leads the willing and drags the unwilling. So I guess if I have spent my entire adult life doing this, I do feel that it was destiny. And whether I was ready for it or not, it was just time for me to start. And it happened in a certain way, but it almost like instantly clicked and I started getting assignments continuously. And it's been 15 years and I'm still doing what I've learned to love to do now. If you had asked me when I was a child, what do you want to become? The last thing on my list would have been model. It's not something I would have ever thought. So, yeah, a bit of a long answer, but it was just very contrary to my personality to do something that I am doing now. Do all the things that I'm doing now, actually. I never used to sing either in school. I was just too shy. I used to be an athlete, actually, in school.
Wow.
That was the only thing that I did was, so I was a district level athlete in running, track. So coming from that, because my dad's a sportsman, so he encouraged that. Mm-hmm. And I had a natural knack for it. So I used to be really good at sports in school. So I used to be in like 11 teams. I captained 6 teams. So it was, who would have thought glamour field? Aishwarya? Oh my, hell no. Being on hoardings? Oh my God. This girl? No way. Like greasy hair, 2 braids, just sitting alone and eating lunch. You would have never ever imagined that girl would be on hoardings one day. So yes.
Fortune favors the brave. I think truly
Yes.
when I listen to you speak and when I I'm just putting myself in your shoes. I know that I've not walked your journey, but just imagining you being that person and to have actually transformed to the person that you are today, and so many people looking up to you and so many people wondering, hey, I want to be like this person. I think that's truly been a very beautiful, growth transformation for you, and kudos to you for everything that you've dealt with in such a beautiful manner. I think somewhere along the journey, right, I think your parents obviously have been very, very instrumental in making sure that you were always on track and that they encouraged every bit of the talent that you had. Because like you mentioned, your father comes from the sports field and your mother was a journalist, right? So let's just talk a little bit about those two completely different realms. Because like you said, nobody would have thought that Aishwarya, a sports person who was captaining 6 teams and was always running around on the track, being in hoardings and being in a completely glamorous profile. So let's just talk a little bit about the way your parents sort of influenced you.
So my mom was very encouraging about everything that I did in terms of the glamour field. My dad is a stereotypical conservative orthodox father.
Right.
I wouldn't say is, I would say was. Because he actually, as much as I knew he didn't like it, he was just not one of those who would put his foot down and say, no, you cannot do this. Although in between he did force me to get into a 9-to-5 job. Literally, he just dragged me there. He didn't tell me where we were going. Okay. He just said, get in the car. Okay. He had all my stuff in the back. I had no clue, all my degrees and everything. And I'm just sitting there and he just took me to this office and I'm just sitting there and he's like, okay, you have an interview right now. They'll call your name. I said, what? He's like, yeah, you have an interview. I want you to join here. I was like, I don't even know what I'm interviewing for. I do not know what the job description was. Right, I don't know what to ask about. Why am I here? Like, what am I going to do here? So he was just like, you'll figure it out. Just go. I had no clue. He totally tricked me into this. So I went in for the interview. I got the job. I don't know how I got. See, this is me. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly. Right.
I'm literally sitting in a job interview, not knowing what I'm interviewing for. But it was a challenge. I had to get the job.
Right.
In my head, that thing goes off, whether I wanted to get the job or not. I did not want to do a 9-to-5 job. But there's one switch that goes off in my head and I'm like, okay, so I'm up for an interview. I need to get the job. That's it.
Right.
That's all that's running in my head. And I got the job and I worked there for about 8 to 9 months. And actually, I learned so much from it, even though I couldn't last in the 9-to-5, especially because I did not want to give up on everything else, all the extracurriculars that I was doing. Mm-hmm. And after a point, it became too difficult to juggle so many things with the 9-to-5.
Right.
And I was not willing to give up on things that I love just because one of my parents wanted me to be in a stable job. I mean, that was his only criteria.
A sense of security and a sense of stableness, right.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. Anybody, any father especially in a society like India, you know that they just want you to be safe. You know where your money is coming, how much money is coming every month. You have your insurance, you have this, you have that. Make sure that everything is safe, right?
Right.
But the fact is, what he did not realize at that time is because as much as I feel maybe stable and secure, it would have been a job where I'd waste all my other talents. Him being him, this is what I used against him or used in my
defense.
In my defense, is the fact that he followed his passion. His father was not up for him playing cricket, and my dad, as of today, he is the national coach for India cricket, and he played for Junior India. He's done so well in his career, and I was like, okay, so his dad burnt his bat. Like I remember he set up a fire and he burnt his bat. Like that's how much he didn't want him to get into cricket because he wanted him to be stable.
Right.
But I was like, you got to follow your passion and look where you are. So just give me a chance. So then he didn't have an answer after that. So but he did have a little like a criteria for me to continue doing it, which was my mom would accompany me to all my gigs.
Right.
She did. Every single one. That worked out. In that sense, my parents, as of now, they have understood that I know what I'm doing and I know how to make my ends meet. I have not taken money from them since I was 14. So they know that I can get back, right? So now they trust the process. So they just leave me be and they know I can do multiple things and juggle it and make it work for myself. Yeah, that's how it worked with my parents.
It's just so heartwarming to listen to this because somewhere down the line I sort of maybe not have a very similar journey as yours, but I remember my father being the exact same person because I come from a very conservative Malayali Orthodox family living in Chennai where everybody was into the business. I was the only person who actually did an engineering degree, did an MBA degree and then came back and said, no, I want to get into events and I want to be in the media, which was very unheard of then. But I think pretty much all of the reasons that you sort of suggested were what my father went by as well. I did a little bit of rebelling back there, but I think it just sort of led us to the path that we are on today. And I just want to remind every person who's listening to this podcast today, if Aishwarya has had this beautiful journey and she's transformed into this amazing human being that inspires so many wonderful people today, it is also because she was able to convince her parents, and her parents also made that effort to understand where she came from, right? So if any of you is looking for that spark, is looking for that sort of motivation to make your parents understand where you're coming from, sit down, have a conversation with them, explain to them, and also make them listen to this podcast and listen to what Aishwarya had to say. So on that note, I think just talking a little, further into where we are today in 2020 with this pandemic going on and with everything, life on hold at the moment. I know that you have started teaching as well because you're a fantastic singer. In fact, your dream debut was at the London Olympics in 2012, right? I don't think anybody would have just been able to land such an amazing platform. And after that, you've had countless such amazing experience working with almost pretty much every leading music label in the country. So tell us a little bit about how that felt at that point.
My beginning of my music journey?
Yes, the beginning of your music journey. I don't mean this as a cliche question, but somewhere the reason why I want to ask about this is because as somebody who has landed this huge opportunity, I'm sure you were a little bit nervous somewhere because I understand you're a perfectionist. So it was all the more the reason for you to just prove yourself out there, right?
Correct. My whole childhood, I would say my entire schooling life, I wanted to sing. Right. But I was too shy. And too anxious and too scared. You know how you will have these, during a free period, there'll be like somebody stand up and entertain us. Every time I would want to just stand up and sing a song. Every time. But I never had the guts. Not one time. I never sang in school. Not a single human being in school knows that I even had a voice. My switch of my personality happened when I entered college. So all through school, I didn't have a great fantastic school life, I would call it. But the second I went into college, it was almost like the butterfly had come out of the cocoon, it was almost like I want to do everything that I couldn't do in school. So I'm a new person here, nobody knows me here, and I want to be the person that I want to be. I signed up for everything. I signed up for music and I got into the college team, and then we went and performed in a bunch of places and all that. But I still never got to sing solo or sing
where you wanted to sing. Right.
Yeah. So, and then this opportunity came along, and like I said, it was a challenge, but I took it up and it worked out. Actually, in fact, I got mentioned into international newspapers, which was just, come on, for a girl who's, I have not trained in music, London Olympics, where there are 40 other countries performing, but then you get picked out of all those, and then you're mentioned, even when I did not know how to sing. Like, I had not been trained, and it just, I think it was my passion, and like I said, destiny, that kind of led me to perform the way I performed, and I performed my heart out. I remember, and as soon as I came back to India, I came back and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. This is because I had always wanted to do it. I never got the opportunity to get a taste of actually being in the front line and doing it, right? But when I tasted it, I was like, immediately decided this is something I want to pursue. And me, because I'm a perfectionist, I did not want to go and ask for work anywhere until I learned how to sing. So I immediately went and bugged my teacher now, but he is actually one of the best vocal coaches, I think, I would say, in the country. And it's very difficult to get a slot with him. He's got like a waiting list of I don't know how many people, you know, and I was able to get like little chat in with him. And when I did, I think he saw that I was really passionate about it. So he was like, okay, I can't start you off immediately, but I can start you. I remember in 2013. So 2013, Jan 2nd. Okay, so he said, you can come in class. I remember, and I've been a student since. So 2013, I started learning music, and that transformed my voice. I mean, of course, everybody has to learn what they're good at. Of course, everybody's given a talent. They're born with certain talent, but you have to hone all your skills and talents, right? So I'm somebody who believes that for sure. I don't take it for granted just because I can do something. I'll just do a haphazard job of it, especially because others are involved. It's not something I'm just doing myself in my room. Then it's one thing. If people are paying me for singing, or if people are paying me for makeup, or if people are paying me to look good, I will give it my best because they're hiring me for me to do my job the best, right? I have to give it my all. So I've been studying music obsessively for the last 7 years, and that's how I stumbled upon teaching now, because I would have never, I wouldn't say never, I think eventually I would have considered, getting into the teaching line, but I don't think I would have done it anytime soon if it wasn't for the pandemic.
I think something very beautiful about the way you were so passionate when you were talking about how you wanted to give it your 100%. And I think that's one of the reasons that I am most inspired, or every time I watch a video of yours where you've sung or where you've done something, I can see that this is not just, like you said, a haphazard job. I can see that you have sat down, you have written notes, you have planned every shot, you have planned that this is how the output, needs to come out and needs to be presented. And I think that's a very beautiful takeaway that everybody should be taking home who's listening to this. Everything that you do deserves the 100% from you. Whether you're being paid for it, whether you're not being paid for it, whether you're doing it for passion, any of those things, right? At the end of the day, you have to be the best version of yourself is something that you need to tell yourself, and is something that I think will automatically show. Your passion will reflect in the results, and something that you've given your 100% to will not let you down. So thank you so much for explaining that with so much passion. It was just so wonderful to listen to you say that, and to, visually, because we are doing this over a video call. It's just so amazing to listen to you express it with so much happiness. And I'm sure that everybody who's listening right now is also feeling that. So teaching, like you said, you didn't think of it happening so soon, but it did during the pandemic. And something that I want to ask you is, since you've been learning music the past 7 years, right? As a student, how is Aishwarya? As a teacher, how is Aishwarya?
So as a student, I am like 10-year-old sitting in class, just obsessed with my teacher, obsessed with every word he's saying, taking it in, no matter how much I perform or whatever it is. And even if I'm learning with a person who's coming in for their first class, I'm still a student. As long as I'm in that room, I'm a student, and I'm absorbing everything that I can. Even if I'm 7 years into learning, if there is a person in their first class, and if my teacher is saying something to them that I haven't heard him say before, I'm immediately absorbing it. It's not like, I've been here for 7 years, I know what he teaches. I think the reason I learn the most and I absorb the most is because I never feel like I know enough. And I don't think anybody can know enough. There is no concept, there's so much to learn in every field, and no matter what you do, it just keeps expanding, especially considering that our generation's having like a shift from when, even when you and I were born until now. It's rapidly changing. Everything is changing. Back then we had television, and then we had the cordless phones. Now we have like our smartphones with us, and we have internet, and we have so many things that we did not have then. And everything has changed within like a couple of decades,
Right.
And I feel like there's so much to learn in terms of everything. And even music is changing continuously because there's technology involved now, and kind of technology that was not involved where maybe when they were recording like Lag Ja Gale, for example, or like Stairway to Heaven or something. So anyway, I'm always a student. Like, no matter, I'm not even talking about just in class. I'm saying even when I go for a recording, I'm always looking around to see, okay, what can I pick from here that I can use, later. So always a student, even when I'm teaching my students. If there's something that I hear from them, like the other day I was teaching one of my 13-year-old girl who sounds mind-blowing. She's a star. Like, she's going to grow up and she's going to be a star. Like, you just know. You hear somebody, right? There was like this tone that she brought when she was singing it, and I was like, oh my god, I totally want to try this out. This sounds amazing, That's an attitude that has served me because I'm always observant and I'm always absorbing, which is why I'm able to use what I've learned in one thing in another. Like how I learned makeup on the job. I never went to beauty school to learn makeup, but I learned it from doing my own makeup for the last 15 years. And I watch videos. I try to learn from when another person is doing makeup on me, makeup tricks. That's how I learned makeup enough to be able to teach makeup. I've actually also been teaching makeup during this lockdown, right? So for me to be able to teach it, I guess the best way to do it is, even if you're a teacher, to still be a student. So if you're continuously in a learning process, you can continuously keep expanding and growing, and eventually when you want to impart your knowledge, you have enough knowledge and you're accumulating enough knowledge no matter where you are for others to be able to make use of it when they're starting out on their journey. So that's just how I am. A bit extra, I guess.
No, I think it's beautiful basically because, like you rightly said, right? I think even I was talking about it a couple of days ago where I read this on a Twitter thread and someone said, there is no age to start learning, or there's no end to learning. Right? You need to constantly, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student, like you rightly said, there is no one can ever know enough. There's no point where you say, okay, I'm complete now. I've learned everything that there is to know, irrespective of what field we come from. Everything is evolving. Change is the only constant. And that's sort of the mantra with which we need to keep upskilling ourselves if we want to be the best at what we do. And I think that's nothing extra about it. I think that's something that we all need to sort of understand and hone ourselves with so that we can be the best at everything that we do. It's as simple as that. So that's a very beautiful learning that I've had from you today, Aishwarya. Thank you so much for that. And I think we're just going to go into the last bit of this conversation because I think with you, there are a lot of conversations that we can have on so many different topics. But just to keep this a little short and sweet and crisp for my listeners, I want to understand, you've always been very vocal about everything that you do. In the sense, you believe that as much as you show the success, you show the glamorous side of things, you also talk about the not so pretty times, right?
Right.
So was that a conscious decision that you took, that you wanted to share that part of your journey with the world? Or was it just a moment where you felt, if I talk about it, maybe it would help somebody? What was the reason behind that?
So what I do talk about is having anxiety. So I've dealt with anxiety my entire life. And I feel nobody talks about it. And especially in our society, Indian, where we come from, I would only say unfortunately. I'm not going to say fortunately or unfortunately. It's only unfortunately. There is a stigma about everything. There is a pakathu veetukaranga enna solluvanga. Oh, padosi kya kahenge? And that's the line that irritates me the most. Yes. What will people say? I truly feel that there are so many things that need to be talked about and dealt with, and people are suffering because of this one line where they're so scared about what will people say. Will I get married? Will I get a job? Am I going to be, made fun of by my friends? Or will my friends leave me because they think I'm weird because I'm going to a therapist? Oh my God, come on, just get help, all right? So I want to I'm not going to say that I have the influence that maybe like Kylie Jenner has, but I might be able to influence just 1%, 1% of my follower count, or just even one person, when I'm talking, and when they know that, hey, I have anxiety too, and she's been able to do X, Y, Z, W, whatever, like ABC, and she's able to do so many things, and she's able to deal with her anxiety. So I want them to know that it goes hand in hand. Just because you have this does not mean everything else has to stop, or everything else does stop. But you need to get help, because it has physical, repercussions, and it causes you to not be able to be the best version of yourself. Anxiety is such a thing that it runs your life. And I don't think anybody or anything should be allowed to run your life. And my anxiety decides how much I can negotiate. My anxiety decides whether I want to take a call or not, whether I want to respond to my friends even, and when I can sleep, when I can get up, what I do in a day, whether I feel like working today. Everything, it should be my decision. It should not be because my anxiety should not be telling me, oh my God, now you don't feel like recording, so just like sit and watch Friends, or you need distraction because you are overthinking right now. I didn't want to be in that state, and I don't think anybody should live like that. And I especially feel that here people do live like that because of stigma. And I wanted to take away that stigma. The second people talk about it, there is no stigma. It becomes cool. When something goes viral, no matter what it is, it becomes cool, right? Like such a horrid thing, like the way George Floyd died. When it went viral, everybody wanted to talk about it. But when people talk about it, there's awareness. And when there's awareness, people don't mind talking about it, accepting it themselves, and talking about it and reflecting upon themselves, and when they want to do it. So that is exactly my idea behind it, is to start a conversation. I want to let people know that, look, I have done it, you can do it. Anything I have done, considering the level of anxiety that I've dealt with my entire life, is if I can do it, anybody can do it, because my level is very high. If I have been able to deal with it to a great extent, my mom was huge support during my career, and even though I was never diagnosed and I didn't know exactly what I had, but when that nervousness came in, I had somebody to fall back on. But it needs to be diagnosed. That's the thing. So it's not something that you can just be like, oh, it's just going to be like this, I'm going to be nervous for the rest of my life,
Right.
But it accumulates, it gets worse. Things get worse. Just like any other disease, mental health also keeps getting worse. It doesn't stay the same. So mental health is something I'm so passionate about, and I think eventually I'm going to take it up even more seriously. But I wanted to have a little bit of hold on myself, because I've just started treatment. I'm not in a place where I can be like, look, I'm cured, so you guys can also be cured. I'm not cured yet, but I'm diagnosed. So I don't mind talking about it. I want to talk about it. I want to let people know that it is fine. It's nothing wrong. Just like you get a cold, maybe you're having nervousness today. So what? Everybody's nervous. Everybody's anxious. Maybe your anxiety levels are more than other people. Just get it diagnosed and get it treated. Everything has a treatment. You can get over everything in life. That's a fact. People move on from everything. And no matter how big a situation might feel at that moment, it's something that can be moved on from, or, dealt with rather. Dealing with your reality is so important, and I do not want anybody to suffer just because they're like, oh my God, people are going to say something. I've always said, like, I hate that sentence. If somebody comes to me and says, don't do this because what will the neighbors think? Oh, I'm going to do it, because they don't live my life. They don't know anything about my life, and they're now going to live the repercussions of me not doing it. Maybe they might think something for a split second. They might be like, oh my God, this girl is going to a psychiatrist. Oh, what's wrong with her? Just that one sentence, and then they're going to move on with their day. But I am going to live the rest of my life just because I'm so scared about them thinking that one sentence. For that 1 minute. So, that's the reason I started this conversation, and I'm going to continue it. But as and when my treatment gets better, I will get more and more in detail, and I want to let people know that you can get over it, and you can keep working even when you do have it, but it needs to be treated.
And it's important to take that first step. So many wonderful takeaways from just the last few minutes of the conversation that I've had with Aishwarya, and I think it's so beautiful. I really genuinely want to say this because today we live in a world of influence, right? Influencer is the trending word at the moment, and like you said, if you could change just the mindset of that one person, and that one person goes and seeks the help that they so desperately need without listening to society saying, because society has killed more dreams than the actual person themselves. Because like you said,
right.
Padosi kya kahe, pakathu veetukaranga enna solluvaanga, how will I face people?
This relative issue is like a big problem in India.
And I think breaking all of those barriers requires a huge amount of strength and a huge amount of support from your loved ones, because like you rightly said, when you have that someone to fall back on, and I don't mean this as a security, or a safe space, but just knowing that somebody is going to hold you when you're going to fall is definitely going to help you take that first step. Right? You need to be able to at least start the conversation, and I think that's exactly what you're doing today, and a lot of people are in the right direction being influenced by you, which I think is an amazing feeling altogether. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Being very sincere when I say this, because I know a lot of people, I've been on the other side and I've also sort of understood where certain questions come from, but you've been very honest, you've been very candid in everything that you've said to me today. And like I mentioned in the beginning, The People I Meet is a podcast where I ask people the questions because I want my listeners to know the person rather than the personality.
I love it. Yeah.
So,
I love that concept.
Thank you so much once again, Aishwarya. And as we end this podcast today, I just want to sort of ask you, what would you like to tell my listeners who are listening today?
I just want to tell you that everybody has a passion, everybody has stigmas, everybody deals with issues in their life, everybody has, maybe they have bills to pay, they're taking care of their entire household or whatever it is, and everybody has a different situation. So I'm not going to say, oh my God, follow your dreams, come what may, but do not let your dreams go by, because I have always lived by this motto that 40 years later, I don't want to be like, oh my God, what if I had done that? Oh, I want to do this. I wish I had done that. So there is time, there's 24 hours in a day. There is time for you to pursue everything simultaneously. It is possible. All you have to do is allow yourself to do it. Get rid of the excuses, because we live on excuses. Think about it. Half the time we're like, oh, I've come late because I've done this. I've not done this because I have not done that because. So get rid of your becauses. That does nothing but hold you back. And if you can just do that and continue living your best life, and you will live your best life if you follow something that really is close to your heart. And if you need help, ask for help. If you can help. And just live the best version of yourself. And I think everybody knows whether they are living their best version or not, because everybody knows whether they're happy or sad.
Right.
But if you feel you're not happy enough, it means there's something missing, and you know what is missing too. Just find it and do it, because 24 hours is a lot of time and people can do a lot of things, and you have your entire life. So just live your best life without your becauses. I think I would like to end it on that.
What a positive way to sort of wrap up this episode of today's podcast, because there are so many things that I have learned from you during this conversation, and today truly I think I have seen the person inside Aishwarya. I've seen the person, the young child who you said, was so shy and nervous to actually get up during a free period to sing, transform to this person. I have known your journey, I think, even from the previous time where I've interviewed you for a radio show. From that to then to today, the transformation that I've seen, I understand that you've made the choices that you had, and you've taken the help that you need, and you are in a way helping others as well understand themselves and ask for that help. So once again, thank you so much, Aishwarya, because like you said, I think it's important that we start those conversations. It's important that we talk about everything and that we break the stigma that's associated with all of these things. And I'm sure my listeners will remember to live a life without those excuses, because at 40, like you said, I don't want to look back and say, oh my God, I wish I had the time to do this, or oh, I wish I, had this when I was younger. 24 hours definitely is a lot of time, and if we did start working on the things that would make us happier, we will all be living our best version of life, So thank you so much once again. for being such a fantastic guest on my show.
I'll say thank you so much. My absolute pleasure. I love the concept of your podcast. I actually did not know this going into it. I thought it was going to be another, let's talk about, where it started, how did it start. But I'm actually, the reason I was so candid is because I'm able to talk about it. The questions were where I was able to give you the backstory of everything rather than the front story. And front story, everybody knows how it happened. But what was going on and how it happened and how you deal with it is the actual story, right? And that's something that people can actually relate to rather than just saying, oh, I got lucky with my first assignment. Like, nobody's going to take that away and be like, oh, great, maybe I'll also wait for my lucky strike. But I love the concept, and I really always have a great time. I love the way you conduct your interviews, and I had a great time talking to you as usual. So thank you for having me. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. And on that very, very, very positive note, I end my podcast today. My guest is a multifaceted person, someone who dabbles with so many different things, but is also very, very open about her need, her want to sort of break the stigma regarding mental health. You can follow Aishwarya on several different social media platforms. She's got her own website as well. And something that you'll truly love about her personality is not that she's unique. The spelling of her name is also very, very unique. It's Aishvarrya. Aishwarya Suresh joining me today on my podcast. I will meet you very soon with yet another inspirational story on my podcast, The People I Meet. Thank you so much. This is me, Shruti Vijay Kumar Vasan, signing off from Chennai. See you in the next episode of The People I Meet.